You've got to be in single file, noise levels, low. And in the event that we stumble into potentially dangerous animals, you listen to what I tell you. Questions later. If I say we are going this way, we go that way. There and then. It's really not a job as such, considering I've spent nearly my entire life in the bush. It's become part of me, and I love it. It's also not like a marathon walk as if we want to cover X number of kilometers in so many minutes or so many hours. It's a stroll through the bush. We will look for signs. People have come onto the reserve. It could be footprints, or sometimes we can see animal tracks. The front one will obviously is here somewhere, and it's like round, and you see the oval one is the back one. And that little bit of, it's called a scuff mark. Okay. They lift the front foot and they go like this on the back one. And that's where you check which way they are going. Obviously, rhinos are such an endangered species. It's a unique job that this park is doing in trying to contribute towards the continued existence of the species. I personally love elephants for the simple reason that each time I look at them, it's more or less like a reflection of our own self, in the sense that we as humans have so many similarities with elephants. They are family oriented, and I mean, in the human world, everybody belongs to a family as a basic unit of society. They are highly intelligent, they are emotional, and they have the ability to pass on that information to, the other generations after that. After the human being, they've got to be the next animal that can alter the environment.
Okay, how do they do that?
I mean, you think of this piece of land that we have. If you have elephants here, it doesn't take you a couple of days to notice that there's an impact on the vegetation.
Okay.
Yeah. Humans are the first, of course. They can take axes and bulldozers and whatever. But the next stage after that is the elephants, their impact on the environment. So sometimes we can see animal tracks, and if we read the tracks and it looks like the animal is limping or whatever. From what animal?
Buffalo?
These parks are just like islands. They are surrounded by people right around them. If the parks are not run on a sustainable basis, then you lose the argument. So we're just looking for clues as to something that will have gone wrong. That's what the patrol is all about. Anyway, apparently the rhinos are somewhere along the road.
Does conservation come back to money?
In the long run, yes. As much as you would want to talk about conservation in general, but if it is going to be what we call sustainable conservation, which means for the long-term future, of course there is money that has got to be plowed into conservation.
Which means you always need tourists and you always need people.
Yes, which means you can't separate that piece of land and the animals and the people. So tourists are quite an important component of the whole thing.
So do you think this park needs people to come? Would it be better if nobody came to see the animals?
More so that we can highlight the need to conserve these animals for future generations. Just having the animals without anybody seeing them, I don't think will be serving any purpose. Okay, I know we still need to protect them, but at the same time give people the chance or the opportunity to see them live. I think it's pretty much our main objective, to educate the public. Here is a rhino midden. Rhino have this behavior. After defecating, they spread their dung using their back legs. and so that impregnates them with the scent. So as they move around, other rhinos can pick it up. If you look through the dung, they cut these branches, and it's usually at a 45-degree angle. That's typical of black rhino, whereas with the white rhino is going to be predominantly grass. Yeah.
Long-term conservation of these animals, there's a lot that happens behind the scenes, if I may say so, in terms of the logistics that we have to have in place in order to safeguard the safety of these animals. So every little penny that the tourist chips in towards conservation will actually ensure that other tourists will come and see them alive. We do have a very effective anti-poaching unit which does patrols every single day, and the more people we have on the ground, the better. And so if we get tourists or volunteers who want to spend some time out in the bush to add the numbers of the people on the ground, that presence is really contributing to the conservation of these animals. Instead of just the money, they can actually physically get involved in conserving these animals. You can see the one toe in there, the other one in there, and this big one is the middle one, and that's the back.
So this rhino went that way.
Let me put it this way. Without the tourists, the national parks, their value would actually be much less. You have to think of the fact that if you don't attach some dollar signs to any resource, you will have problems in trying to look after it. So the animals, they've got to generate some revenue to sustain themselves. Yeah. That's the way it is. The bottom line is, even in conservation, you still need, especially the manpower and the financial resources to run these places. So I think we just have to accept it as a fact that conservation does need, the resources for it to be successful. Once they have seen the actual animals in real life, it sticks with them longer rather than just seeing these animals on a TV screen or just reading in books. I think it has an impact on people when they see the animals in real life. It's very important.
They don't see very well, but they can pick up your scent. Like now the wind is blowing this way. So if we go that way, our scent is going to go into them. So we have to always be downwind.
I'm feeling exhausted, dehydrated, pretty scared. But mainly I just feel humbled to be here to see this rhino and her baby, and to play a small part in the vital work these rangers are doing, ensuring the survival of this species.
We've had a few that have been born here, and obviously if the numbers still increase, we are hoping to be able to, of course, put them back into the national park where they've got more room, because the area where they are is a lot smaller. Basically, it's a lot easier to monitor than when you've got a very big area where you need more manpower and all the logistics behind it. So I think we are contributing significantly towards the cause for the rhino conservation. We are born, bred and buttered here. We obviously know our way around in the whole environment. But I think from a logistical point of view, Steve becomes a kingpin. So it's a question of everything complementing each other.
Okay.
Yeah. Initially, it was like, wow, where is this guy coming from? But I think once people got to understand the background of the organization that he was working for, and where they could assist or help in conjunction with us guys on the ground, it has been really wonderful. Good day, mate. In fact, just the general policing of the park has greatly improved. We actually now go out on patrols and we see less signs of illegal hunting or poaching than before. So definitely his presence has really had an impact on the whole park. the skills that have been imparted to the guys by Steve have become very useful. Learning about discipline, a unit like the anti-poaching unit or any operation that involves firearms, people have to have some form of discipline. It's like in the army or in the police force, you have to have some form of discipline, otherwise nothing works. That's exactly what you need, because you never know, you could be tracking guys who are armed already. So you have to be perhaps more skilled than they are, and you have to have trained to pick up their presence long before you get to where they are. Basically, what we need to do is be vigilant all the time, because like I always say, you never know. So yes, there's a constant worry about the animals. So the fact that we are aware that we've got to be vigilant pretty much on a daily basis is a great help. Yeah. When I look at these animals, I just don't look at them in isolation. I'm looking at them in the context of the whole ecosystem in which they are only a part of it. And so the more I appreciate the wildlife, not just the wildlife, but the environment as a whole, makes me feel that I'm doing something really good for conservation. I still believe education plays an important role.
Do you see any change in the attitude towards conservation here in Zimbabwe?
Yes, I think what has actually happened now is that because in the formal school, in primary school, they've incorporated environmental education. So you find that the kids of today are a lot more aware of what is around them. I'm not saying we've really reached the levels that we need, but I think the word is getting around that people should understand that we are only part of this very complex web of life.